Hello and welcome along again this week. This is John's Garage and my name is John O'Sullivan. This week we are reviewing a car that was described by the manufacturer upon launch as it's racy but responsible. Absolutely nothing like this car though. I don't really know what car they were talking about, but it's neither racy and some people would say not responsible, but I beg to differ. I think it is a very, very good choice. It's got a couple of nice little touches, and yeah, overall it's a pretty good, in my opinion, it's a pretty good car. So what are we driving? We are driving a 1993 Renault 19 RSI. And for those of you tuning in from maybe the UK or Europe or basically anywhere else in the world apart from Ireland, the RSI was a 1.8 litre 8-valve engine. But in Ireland, because of our really, really brilliant taxation system, our motor tax system at the time, 1.4 was as much as we got. So what we have under this is a sporty looking car with a 1.4 litre energy engine. So that means 78 horsepower, 79 foot-pounds of torque, and a top speed of 107 miles per hour. So was it responsible? I suppose it was. Was it racy? Absolutely not. It just looked racy, which was kind of actually insurance friendly for a lot of young drivers in Ireland. So it made the car actually quite popular. Now, we didn't get the 1.8 like the rest of the world, but we also didn't get something else, which was ABS, and that is quite possibly the reason that this particular car survives. The ABS units that were in them, they were troublesome, they gave problems, and for a lot of reasons, it's what took a lot of those cars out, and it's why they no longer exist. They've been scrapped a long time ago. So we're in quite a survivor here today, I'm delighted to say. Okay, so what did you get for your money back in 1993? You got one-touch electric windows, you got remote control central locking. Unfortunately, I've lost the fob, so that's gone. You got front fog lights, and they're those lovely yellow French type. So look sporty in my opinion. You got a rear spoiler. You got turbine hubcaps. No alloy wheels around here. We're not messing with any of that stuff. You got nice hubcaps that were specific to the car. What else? God, I'm thinking now. We got beautiful light bar at the back, so they've come full round and they're back in fashion now on cars. But my 1993 Renault 19 had a light bar that stretched the whole way across the back of the car. And I have to say, this period of French car design, I don't care what anybody wants to say about French cars and Renaults and Peugeots, one thing they got right was absolutely beautiful rear lights. They just look perfect. They're nice and sporty, well put together. They've held out very well in terms of looking fashionable and sporty and refined. It's one thing I absolutely think they nailed. Interior wise, well, 1992 the facelift was launched in. This is the 93 model. In left-hand drive markets, you got a much swoopier dashboard, reflecting more modern thinking with Renault. Right-hand drive markets, apparently it didn't pay to tool up and produce it, so we're still stuck with the 1980s square look going on. But they did upgrade the materials, so the soft touch plastics here, everything falls easy to hand. The switches are quite, I suppose, dated now, but they all work. They're all functioning. You got central locking, front fog lights, rear fog lights, heated rear window, and hazard light switch. One thing we didn't get in 1993, which I absolutely wish today we did, was air conditioning. It's the hottest day of the year, so if I look a bit like Sweaty Betty, my apologies, but it is absolutely sweltering in the car, and to get the sound right, we have to keep the windows up and the fan off, so we're really feeling the heat today. So what's the car like to drive? As I said, it's 78 horsepower, so we're not going to win any races. It's 79 foot-pound of torque, so again, you're not going to pull any houses down. But in the car's defense, the 5-speed gearbox is very short gearing. It has very short gearing, so it's actually quite nippy up to about 60 miles an hour. It's very comfortable. We're cruising along now 50 miles an hour out in the open road. There's plenty of poke left in the car, and it's refined. On that refinement, upon launch back in 1988, the car won huge praise for the interior refinement and comfort. It sold very well across Europe. It was the best-selling car in West Germany, and then in Germany after it was reunified up to 1994. Performed very well in their ADAC stats, so it was quite a reliable car. And overall, it still is. It's still a reliable car. It's quite simple underneath. Mechanics are quite simple. Build quality quite simple. It's quite easy to maintain it. This particular example has just clicked over 50,000 miles. So yeah, it's a bit of a survivor in that sense as well. Maybe that's one of the reasons that low mileage is one of the reasons it hasn't been scrapped. So what about this car to drive then? Suspension wise, very refined, very comfortable, nice and soft. On a back road you could actually throw the car around quite a bit, and there's some of the things that made it such a lovable car in Ireland. It was quite well regarded back in the mid 90s amongst, I suppose, young male drivers really. It had all the sporty touches, it had a small engine, so it was cheap enough to tax, and we had a very punitive tax system at the time. It was also cheap to insure, which was a big problem for a lot of young male drivers. So you had this sporty looking car that was quite reliable, that felt like it could go fast, that could handle B roads quite well, and it was insurance friendly. It was a no-brainer for so many young drivers starting off, was to get a Renault 19, maybe stick a set of alloys on it, bigger exhaust. You weren't going to tune the engine very much, but it looked the part, it drove the part, and for a lot of people that was perfect. Now for other people, they realised quite rightly that you could get all this and more in a 16 valve one. 16 valve one looked great, drove 10 times better, had plenty of power, but it was uninsurable and it was expensive to tax. Okay, so for a lot of drivers it just made it impossible to have one. Overall, what are my impressions of the car? It's very comfortable, it's drives great, it's quite refined, it has pretty much everything bar climate control or air conditioning, which is the only thing I'm missing between this and a modern car. We got power steering, we got a beautiful steering wheel, lovely sports leather stitch steering wheel, and overall it's a great place to be. For anyone interested in the Youngtimer Classic, I'd certainly recommend one. I think there's a lot of worse places you can put your money, and a lot of better places I suppose as well, to be fair. This particular one, I've done a huge amount of restoration on it. It's had a full respray, it's had the mechanics overhauled, nothing major, just recommissioning. It had actually been parked up in a shed for 10 years before I got it, and mechanically it drove brilliant. The problem with it was the bodywork let it down, so I've done a huge amount of work on that to get it up and running and to get it right. Drawbacks to it, some of the trim parts can be near on impossible to get, especially the window rubbers. For anyone who has one of these and is wondering can they order them and get them, you pretty much can't, they're unobtainium. But what I would recommend is the rubber weather strip that runs along the top of the door on an Opel Corsa B, on a 3-door Opel Corsa B to be exact, can actually be cut and modified to fit, and that's what I've done with my own car, and it changes the look. Even though I had mine resprayed, I had the old weather strips on, they just made it look awful, and that's how I got around that problem. Other things to watch out for with these: head gasket failure. Okay, if they've been set up for a long time, the gaskets tend to dry out. You start it up, take it on a long run, and boom, your energy engine no longer has energy. Okay, it suffered head gasket failure. So what are the common pitfalls? Well, fluids need to be changed, antifreeze needs to be changed and renewed quite often. Radiators, spring and leaks is an issue. Biggest failure point for most of them is actually the plastic expansion bottle tends to crack, and it's a hairline crack, and unfortunately by the time you realise that's where the problem is, you've probably boiled your engine and killed it. Other issues, there isn't really anything there that's going to be expensive to fix. Rust, given the age of the cars. What else would you have? Bushings on the front anti-roll bar. But again, they're not a big job, not difficult to fix. It just requires a little bit of time to do it. But that's it. Sound system, you get a stereo. You can see the buttons have fallen off mine, but it still works. But actually, that reminds me, there's something else I forgot to mention. My car is a 1993 car, and it has all the little buttons here. Top operate the radio. So we've got steering wheel hand controls for the radio, which is obviously quite modern for the time. You didn't get that in your Corolla XLIs, I can assure you of that. But yeah, I'm really happy with the car. Really like it. It's not going to be to everybody's taste. This is the car I take to classic car meets and things like that with my local club. Does it get a second glance? It does from a certain generation. Does it ever get its picture taken? No, unfortunately. I either get it's a Renault, who'd like that, or it's too new, and then other people say it's too old. And it's funny, it is too new and it is too old. I actually understand what people mean by that. So thanks very much for joining me on the little drive of my Renault 19. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And of course, share the video as far as you can or as far as you wish, and leave a couple of comments below as well. I'd also be very grateful if anybody in the North Tip region, South Offaly, Limerick region has any cars that they'd like us to drive and make a video of and feature on our channel. I'd be very grateful. If you want to DM me on Twitter, you'll find me at JohnOS1984. And yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I've done 2 Renault videos in a row. The next video will not be a Renault video. The next video is going to be in a car which was a World Rally champion. So I hope you enjoy that.